With Trifond, and this is a platform where we talk about some untold stories. So today we'll be unveiling one untold story that you really want to listen to. And did you know that studies have shown that taking in of tea has a lot of health benefits? And amongst the health benefits, it boosts your immune system by fighting inflammation. So today I'll be catching up with Cadro Board Chair, Mr. Maketo Mukengami. So catch me on the other side. Alcohol is one of the most taken beverage across the country, and probably some take it out of as a way of having fun. So we'll be getting to interact with the executive director and the board chair for Choma Alcohol and Drug Rehabilitation and Organization to talk about alcohol in itself. I know it sounds weird, but I'll be interacting with Maketo Mukengami, the board chair for Cadro. So let's get into it. Mr. Maketo, welcome to this interaction.
Okay, thank you very much, Triford. I think you can just call me Maketo.
I don't know why I'm failing to, but anyways, I'm sure we'll be able to catch up as the time goes by. Yeah. So maybe we can just get started. Who is Maketo Mukengami?
Okay, so that's a good question. I've been getting that question very often. So Maketo Mukengami is a 42-year-old Zambian.
You really pushed 42?
Yes, but I'm only 42. I still feel like I'm 12.
That begins at 40, yeah.
So I'm 42 years old, a recovering alcoholic, as well as board chairperson or founding board chairperson for a very unique non-governmental organization called Choma Alcohol and Drug Rehabilitation Organization.
Right, and in your introduction, you mentioned one interesting thing, recovering alcoholic. Who is a recovering alcoholic?
Well, okay, so definitely these are questions that a lot of people sometimes get confused with, you know. So when you talk about a recovering alcoholic, you're talking about somebody who was once taking a lot of alcohol, excessively consuming alcohol almost every day, and then you decide to stop. So once you stop taking alcohol, that does not mean you have recovered from your prolonged use of alcohol. So basically stopping to consume alcohol is just basically the start of the journey to your recovery. So I'll give you an example. A simple example that I'll give you is like you have malaria, right? And then you take these drugs, then after a week your body starts recovering, and then you regain your recovery, you feel fit, you see? That's a recovery from malaria. Now when you're talking about recovering from alcohol or alcoholism, it's something that's much more complicated, because the whole concept is this person has been alcoholic for a long time, taking alcohol, building tolerances. When you start drinking alcohol, you take a certain amount of alcohol and you feel excited. But once you build tolerance, for you to get excited, you have to increase the amount of alcohol that you drink. So you build tolerance, then after that you build dependence. So your life becomes dependent on alcohol. Going for a party, it's alcohol. Talking to some people, you feel it's giving you courage. But
sorry to cut you short. You mentioned a lot of this word alcohol.
Yeah.
Alcohol. What is alcohol?
So alcohol, basically, this is a chemical substance that is found in what is commonly referred to as beer. You know, it is the main component in most alcoholic beverages, and it's in a simple sense, it's a drug. It's a drug because it's classified as a drug because the drug is any substance which, when introduced to your body, it changes the way your mind operates, as well as the way your body responds to stimuli. So it is a drug. The simple and most straightforward definition that I want to share with you that maybe we overlook is that alcohol is a chemical substance, it is a drug, and when it's introduced to the body, it changes the way the mind operates and the way the body responds.
And maybe, I know it all depends with the person's body and everything. But for the sake of somebody that is watching us right now, how would you describe excessive drinking? Because you've mentioned this word on a number of times, excessive drinking. How would you describe that someone is excessively using alcohol?
So there's a criteria which is used to determine how safe somebody is taking alcohol. Alcoholism is something, it's a new dimension in medicine which is being studied, and a lot of things have come out. So what happens is when somebody takes alcohol, the drug affects the way the mind operates and then the way the body responds to that stimulus. However, after a long time, I mentioned that I talked about dependency and what else?
And wanting to take it more than
okay, excessively. Oh yes. The question is, what would determine that this person is taking alcohol excessively? Yes. So there's this acronym which is used as CAGE, CAGE. This acronym is used to check if somebody is using alcohol excessively. So for instance, if somebody feels like they need to cut down on their drinking, even without anybody talking to them, then it's a sign that they might have an alcohol problem. If a person gets angry when somebody approaches them to talk to them about their alcohol drinking, maybe it's a family member, if they get angry, it's a big sign that this person is in a state of denial. It's a very big sign. Then there's also a sense of guilt. If somebody is taking alcohol and they're guilty about their drinking, they can't talk about it to somebody, and they feel ashamed when you talk about it to them. So that is a very serious sign about that person might be addicted to alcohol, as well as E, which is an eye opener. So if somebody can't stay without alcohol, the first thing that they do in the morning before they do anything is they have to drink some alcohol. That is a clear sign. They call it paparazza. Somebody is shaking.
When you drink it in the morning, it's paparazza.
Yes, and so somebody is shaking and they can't do anything until they drink. So that is a clear sign that this person may have a problem with their drinking.
And also maybe to take it more a little bit personal. You've mentioned you being a recovering alcoholic. Maybe on a personal basis, as Maketo, how did alcohol? Maybe you can just give us a brief background, the story of how you probably started alcohol and how it has been during the process.
Well, I started my first interaction with alcohol on a Christmas day when I was 14. That was 1993. It was a Christmas Eve party at our neighbor's home, and all the adults bought alcohol, got drunk, went out. So they left us, the children, at home. And there were no soft drinks, so the only thing that we had was the alcohol. So it was, the usual Christmas mood, everybody. So we got excited.
Rice, everything,
yeah.
A bottle of alcohol.
So I took a bottle of alcohol, and to tell you the truth, I thought the substance was very bitter. And so that was my first interaction with alcohol when I was 14. But then I think when I went to secondary school, I started interacting with a couple of my friends who had tested alcohol before, and they thought it was a cool experience, So we had something in common. So we started hanging out, and then in our free time we'd save some money that our parents would give us for lunch, and then we would buy some alcohol drinks. We'd skip class sometimes. So the habit started off from there. So when I went to University of London in 2000, of course the first people that I interacted with were those people who have got a common and so I linked up with quite a number of friends. university. A number of interesting characters.
From different backgrounds.
And then the only way of entertaining ourselves, only thing that we knew was drinking. And then we couldn't drink almost every day because we were students, so we began buying these big bottles of whiskey and brandy, so that, instead of buying a lot of alcohol, we didn't have money, we would just get those bottles and knock ourselves out and have fun. So that life continued. Then in our group, actually, before we graduated, three of my friends from a group of 7 actually were kicked out of school because of alcohol. I limped through my university years. Instead of studying at university for 4 years, I ended up studying at university for 8 years because of my alcohol.
Also, you had an extra 3 years.
Because of the time when, instead of paying the school fees which my parents had given me, I blew the money, and I was scared of telling them the truth that I had drunk off the money, So I spent quite a number of years at university. So alcohol affected my way through university. When I completed my university, I started working, I got married. The same habit graduated into my marriage, into my work, such that I didn't think there was anything wrong with it, because I would give excuses, no, but he drinks alcohol, but they drink alcohol, but why so much talking about me? I didn't know that it was something that people could see, I think they could see the signs, and I lost track of my potentials, I was a very active sportsman, poet, debate, but then, alcohol gets to consume your mind. It's actually a substance that, once you have alcoholism, your mind is obsessed by uncontrolled drinking, and you just think about alcohol. So I lost a lot of my life in alcohol at school. Went into marriage with the same mentality, and unfortunately, very, very, those sudden incidents, but I feel I always share this because it has helped me to reflect on my life as an alcoholic and my life now that I'm not alcoholic. And there was a time when, because of the alcohol that I was taking, I was not a good father. I was not a good husband. And I was an abusive husband, actually, both verbally and physically. So there was a time in my marriage when I became so physical on my wife, that such that I almost caused harm to her with an axe, And then that's an incident that I've always reflected upon, because after that I lost my mother, who was trying to help me recover from alcoholism, and then my work at school as a teacher wasn't going so good because I was drinking alcohol so much, and I was going through so much personal trouble. Then I lost my marriage, because sadly say I lost my marriage because of alcohol, and it's an experience that I wouldn't want any father, any parent to subject their wife, their children, because literally it's something that, family means a lot to everybody. But alcohol came to a point where it separated me. Up to now, I'm 3 years separation from my wife and children because of alcohol, though I've been 3 years sober. That just goes to show you how difficult it is when you're recovering from alcoholism, because people think that once you stop drinking, it means everything comes back to normal, but there are a lot of things that alcohol would have destroyed, even when you start your journey to recovery. So it's a unique experience recovering from alcoholism. It has taught me a lot of things, and that is why I'm so loud as an advocate, because I know alcohol brings a lot of dysfunction in a family. There's unnecessary arguments. You spend a lot of your income, money which you can send your children to a good school or to buy food. Spend that money on drinking. When your partner talks to you, you think that she's blowing the top. But because you're drunk, you have alcohol in your head. You think, it's normal. So the point that I'm trying to say is it is important to understand that I think, one, it is possible to move from being an addict. The first thing you have to do is stop drinking alcohol. How do you stop? Tea, there's tea. There's tea, there's water, there are a lot of other beverages. However, the easiest way is to seek for medical help. Go to any hospital in Zambia. There is a treatment option for alcoholism. And that's what a lot of people do not know. So that's quite a lot about.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting, and I've learned about probably some things that I probably didn't know that are so touching and, on a personal level. Yeah. So just in case you've just joined us, you are watching Tea with Triford, and I'm interacting with Maketo Mukenga. I'm the board chair for our trauma, alcohol and drug rehabilitation organization, which is possibly a most unique organization. Probably nobody would think of coming up with any. So maybe on a lighter note, when you were abusing alcohol, when you were taking alcohol, what was your favorite? What was your favorite book?
Okay.
Yeah.
So of course I was drinking for a long time, for 25 years. So favorite bottle. I enjoyed Castle, but then I got to a point where I had to drink a lot of Castle to get drunk. So I went to Jili. There was the sachetated ones which we put in that.
Oh yeah, like they make like a belt something like that. Yeah.
And after that, I think I came to the Lord and the X5, but that's when I retired because it took a toll on me. I think there were a lot of points in time when I would wake up with a terrible scratch, a terrible fall, those things that a lot of alcoholics go through, but usually deny. Deny because that is a state of denial, which almost every alcoholic usually goes through.
Yeah. Maybe also, what was your worst experience in as far as being drunk is concerned? What was your worst experience?
It's a diary, but I think one of the worst experiences was blacking out at the party. Blacking out like about 15 hours, then the party was supposed to start 18. Blacked out even the party before starting. Quite a number of embarrassing moments. I got transferred from my other school in Pemba because of I had an altercation with the head teacher, where we got physical, all because of my drinking. But a number of incidences. I think I talked about the axe-Maketo about my wife. So I'm very embarrassing things that are very difficult to talk about if you've not really given yourself to your recovery. But it's important that you accept the things that you've gone through because of your drinking. That kind of helps you to build upon the things that you would have done differently.
Yeah, and the giving birth of the new organization, Trauma Alcohol and Drug Rehabilitation, and you have currently have a campaign which is recovering from being an alcoholic to from addiction to production. Yes, maybe you can tell us more about from addiction to production. What is it all about?
Okay. So when we set up Trauma Alcohol and Drug Rehabilitation Organization, the whole picture that we had in the mind is every person who's addicted to alcohol is somebody who's not productive, right? Somebody who is in a bar from 6 to 6, drinking alcohol, going home, making noise. That's a state of unproductivity, That's a state of being addicted. But then once you help somebody move in their recovery, if they can make progress in their recovery, it means you're helping them to move from addiction to being productive, I've spent a lot of time, a lot of my personal time more resources in this non-governmental organization, CADRO. And I'm glad to mention that even as I'm speaking to you, we're one of the most recognized NGO in the country. It's recognized by 5 underlying ministries. We also had a very successful awareness and advocacy walk, 10 days walk to the south.
Yeah, you guys have swollen legs already.
Yes.
Okay.
So that just gives you how much we've invested our time instead of drinking alcohol, which was making us unproductive, to doing stuff things that are making us productive. So we believe in that anybody abusing alcohol is potentially productive person, only if we can move them from being addicted to not addicted. So that's our motto.
You know, also one interesting thing, I was going through some of the programs that you have lined up probably for the year. If I thought that program is today, Charcoal One in
Charcoal One in. You know, when I was drinking alcohol, generally, you know, an alcoholic in most of our compounds, you know, so this tag charcoal, you know, it's a tag that it's a shameful tag. It's a tag that brings embarrassment on somebody who's taking alcohol, and it doesn't help the majority of the charcoal world who will call it charcoal. So we will have this campaign which is trying to show that this human being, this charcoal, is a human being. If we're given the love that we're given, that anybody is given, if they listen, if they are helped to understand that what we're going through is alcoholism, which is a disease, they can definitely become a better person. So definitely Charcoal One is a campaign that is an ongoing campaign. However, while everybody is celebrating the success of the work, CADRO has already focused its eyes on one of the projects that we've been working on from December, and this is called the Friendly Bench project. And this Friendly Bench project is basically we're trying to increase access to counseling by members of the community. So we're going to set up some strategic benches within the trauma where we have our professional counselors who were once alcoholics, who have stopped, and have been trained in what is called cognitive behavior therapy. So these benches are spaces where if you have the problem, if you feel you have a problem with alcohol, or you have a family member who is abusing alcohol, you can go to that bench, find somebody you can talk to. So this is one of the most ambitious projects that we're trying to do in 2021.
And being an organization, being a board chair and a founder of an organization that looks at alcohol and drug abuse, you've been in existence for about 3 years now.
Yes. This will be our third year in December.
Yeah, which is a big milestone. How have you so far? How has your organization impacted the community so far in this few years that you've been in existence?
So that is a great question because when I started off the journey, I was alone as a recovering alcoholic. But as we got to do some campaigns in our organization, a couple of more people who were once drinking alcohol and stopped came to join me. And that is when we set up our first support group in trauma for alcohol addicts who are willing to stop drinking alcohol. The key here again is those who are willing to stop drinking alcohol. So we've been running a support group in trauma since last year in August, and we have 29 recovering alcoholics. These are people who have drunk alcohol for a long time. Others have stopped completely. Some are still limping.
And also, you're talking about people stopping to take this alcohol. Maybe on a financial level, on a business perspective, you and I know that for people out there, alcohol is a business.
Yes.
So which means these companies that brew beer and these bars that sell alcohol won't be able to make ends meet.
Well, yes, alcohol is a legal product. Excessively in their own companies, that will affect their own production as a company. So it's a cancer that is not only affecting them productively, but affecting everybody. So it's something, it has to be a balancing act.
Yeah.
So they need to invest in advertising to mention that alcohol is not supposed to be drunk by people under the age of 18.
Yeah.
Any drug needs to be consumed in a controlled environment. So, yes. So we need to cut down on the production of alcohol in this country. We're drinking a lot of alcohol.
I don't know how I don't know how Maketo Mukengami looks at it, but of course with me it's a weird idea. It's a weird idea because these people contribute to the country's economy.
Yeah.
So your concluding remarks as we end our interaction.
So if you have a family member who's abusing alcohol, talk to them when they're sober. Don't talk to them when they come home drunk and then you want to talk to them about their drinking.
It comes bad.
Let them sober up. Talk to them in an honest way. Ask them what they feel, what causes them to drink alcohol so much. Most of the times that the alcoholics that we have interacted with, they drink alcohol because they feel they're being rejected. People are saying they are drinking so much, they feel worthless. So family is a very important support system in recovery from alcoholism. So let's take care of those people who have a drinking problem, because one day that person that you think is a write-off will just become productive and might be the person who supports the family through many other things. So those charcoalers we are keeping, those are potentially productive people. Those are potentially businessmen, potentially good politicians, good sportsmen, good family members, good mothers and fathers.
I'm sure as a teacher you must be cognizant with this, and I'm sure it would be just like a cup of tea, sipping a cup of tea. Right. So just in five different languages, just greet someone out there looking at that camera and greet someone in 5 different languages.
Okay, this sounds very, very, very easy.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to say Mligwanji, Shani, Mwabuga Buti, Mwabuga Buyani.
No, that's Ila now.
That's Lenche.
That's Lenche. It was in Tonga. It was under Tonga.
Okay. So, Muzulile Chwani.
Okay, which is the fourth one. Thank you very much for catching up, and of course, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to suggest what some of the untold stories that you feel in your communities out there and talked about, so that we can bring them on the table as we sip a cup of tea. Thank you very much to the guys behind the cameras, David Banda and Owen Luzongo. See you next time.